Hashtag the making of a warrior. Lieutenant Sarah Chun never imagined that her childhood spent hunting with her grandfather in the mountains of Colorado would one day save lives in the most dangerous corners of the world. Growing up in a small town where everyone knew everyone, Sarah was the girl who could outshoot most of the boys at the local shooting range by age 12. Her steady hands and sharp eyes were gifts that her grandfather, a Vietnam veteran, recognized early and nurtured with patience and wisdom. When Sarah announced her intention to join the military after high school, her family wasn't surprised. What shocked them was her determination to become a Navy SEAL. The program had only recently opened to women, and the physical and mental demands were legendary. Sarah's mother worried about her daughter's safety, while her father questioned whether she truly understood what she was getting into. But Sarah's grandfather simply nodded and said, "Some people are born to protect others. Sarah is one of them." The SEAL training was everything the stories claimed, and worse. Of the 23 women who started the program with Sarah, only 4 made it past the first month. The instructors pushed every candidate to their absolute limits, testing not just physical strength, but mental resilience, teamwork, and the ability to perform under extreme pressure. Sarah excelled at marksmanship, consistently scoring among the top 5% of all trainees, regardless of gender. Her instructors noted her unusual ability to remain calm and focused even when exhausted, stressed, or operating on minimal sleep. During one particularly grueling exercise, Sarah's team was tasked with a simulated hostage rescue in an abandoned warehouse. The scenario involved multiple rooms, moving targets, and strict rules of engagement to avoid hitting mock civilians. While her teammates struggled with the complex layout and split-second decisions required, Sarah moved through the course with methodical precision. She identified threats, eliminated targets, and cleared rooms with an efficiency that impressed even the hardest instructors. After 18 months of intensive training, Sarah graduated in the top 10% of her class. She was assigned to SEAL Team 7, based out of Naval Base Coronado in California. Her new teammates were initially skeptical of the young woman joining their brotherhood, but Sarah quickly proved herself during training exercises and smaller operations. She demonstrated not just technical skills, but the kind of cool-headed thinking under pressure that could mean the difference between mission success and catastrophic failure. Sarah's first deployment took her to Eastern Europe, where her team conducted reconnaissance missions along disputed borders. The work was dangerous but relatively routine, gathering intelligence and monitoring potential threats. It was during this deployment that Sarah first encountered the weapon that would later become central to her most famous mission, the M24 sniper weapon system. The rifle, with its .308 Winchester ammunition and effective range of over 800 meters, became an extension of Sarah's already formidable abilities. The team's weapons specialist, Master Chief Rodriguez, took Sarah under his wing and taught her the finer points of long-range shooting. Rodriguez had 22 years of experience and had served in conflicts around the world. He recognized in Sarah not just natural talent, but the rare combination of patience, focus, and instinctive understanding of wind patterns, distance calculation, and target movement that separated good snipers from legendary ones. Under Rodriguez's guidance, Sarah learned to read environmental conditions like a book. She could estimate wind speed by watching the movement of vegetation or dust. She understood how temperature and humidity affected bullet trajectory. Most importantly, she developed the mental discipline to wait for the perfect shot, sometimes remaining motionless for hours until the ideal moment presented itself. During a training exercise in the mountains of Romania, Sarah achieved something that became the stuff of legend within her unit. The exercise required snipers to engage multiple targets at varying distances while accounting for challenging wind conditions and mountainous terrain. Sarah not only hit every assigned target, but did so in a time that broke the existing record by nearly 2 minutes. More impressive was her ammunition conservation. While other snipers required multiple shots to confirm kills on some targets, Sarah achieved one-shot eliminations on all 27 targets in the course. The success of that exercise led to Sarah being selected for advanced sniper training at the U.S. Army Sniper School in Fort Benning, Georgia. The 3-month course was designed to push already elite marksmen to even higher levels of proficiency. Sarah was one of only 2 Navy personnel in a class dominated by Army Rangers and Marine Scouts. The competition was fierce, and the standards were unforgiving. The course covered everything from advanced ballistics and environmental factors to camouflage techniques and target identification. Students learned to engage targets at distances exceeding 1,000 meters and to operate independently for days at a time. Sarah excelled in every aspect of the training, but her instructors were particularly impressed by her ability to adapt quickly to unfamiliar weapons and equipment. During one memorable exercise, students were required to engage targets using equipment that had been deliberately damaged or modified to simulate battlefield conditions. Sarah was assigned a rifle with a damaged scope that provided an inconsistent sight picture. While other students struggled and requested equipment changes, Sarah quickly adapted her technique, using reference points on the rifle itself and her instinctive understanding of the weapon's characteristics to maintain accuracy. She successfully engaged all targets in the exercise, earning praise from instructors who had rarely seen such adaptability. Upon completing sniper school, Sarah returned to her team with enhanced skills and a growing reputation within the special operations community. Her teammates, who had initially been protective and somewhat skeptical, now looked to her for expertise in situations requiring precision shooting. Sarah had proven herself not just as a capable team member, but as a specialist whose skills could be decisive in critical situations. The team's next deployment would take them to a region where those skills would be tested in ways Sarah had never imagined. Intelligence reports indicated increasing instability in a mountainous region of Central Asia, where various extremist groups were consolidating power and threatening civilian populations. Sarah's team would be part of a larger operation designed to disrupt these groups and provide support for local forces attempting to maintain stability. As Sarah prepared for the deployment, she spent extra time maintaining and testing her equipment. The M24 rifle had become her primary weapon, and she knew every aspect of its operation intimately. She could field strip and reassemble the weapon blindfolded, and she had carefully documented its performance characteristics under various conditions. This attention to detail, combined with her natural abilities and extensive training, had made Sarah one of the most capable snipers in the entire special operations community. The mission briefing revealed a complex operation involving multiple objectives and significant risks. Sarah's role would be to provide overwatch and precision fire support for ground teams operating in hostile territory. The terrain was challenging, with extreme elevation changes and unpredictable weather patterns that could affect visibility and shooting conditions. Most concerning were intelligence reports suggesting that enemy forces were better equipped and more numerous than initially estimated. As Sarah loaded her gear for the deployment, she reflected on the journey that had brought her to this point. From a small-town girl who loved hunting with her grandfather to an elite special operations warrior, the path had been challenging but rewarding. She thought about the responsibility that came with her skills and the trust her teammates placed in her abilities. Soon, that trust would be tested in a situation that would require every ounce of skill, courage, and determination she possessed. When everything goes wrong, the helicopter insertion into the mountainous terrain of Central Asia took place under cover of darkness on a moonless night. Sarah and her 7-member SEAL team were part of a larger operation involving multiple special operations units tasked with disrupting a network of extremist camps that had been terrorizing local villages. Intelligence indicated that the camps held dozens of civilian hostages, including women and children, who were being used as human shields and forced labor. Sarah's team was assigned to establish an overwatch position on a ridge overlooking the largest camp, approximately 800 meters from the main compound. Her role was to provide sniper support for the assault teams while maintaining surveillance on potential escape routes. The mission seemed straightforward, but Sarah's experience had taught her that no operation ever went exactly according to plan. The team reached their position 3 hours before dawn, moving silently through rocky terrain that tested their physical conditioning and navigation skills. Sarah selected her shooting position carefully, considering factors like concealment, fields of fire, and potential escape routes. She set up her M24 rifle with methodical precision, checking and rechecking every adjustment. The weapon had served her flawlessly through countless training exercises and previous operations, becoming as familiar to her as her own heartbeat. As dawn approached, Sarah began her systematic observation of the target compound. Through her scope, she could see sentries patrolling the perimeter, weapons caches positioned around the main buildings, and what appeared to be prisoner holding areas in the center of the compound. The intelligence briefing had been accurate. This was a significant operation that posed a real threat to regional stability. The assault was scheduled to begin at 0600 hours, time to catch the enemy during their morning routine when alertness would be at its lowest. Sarah monitored radio communications as various teams reported their readiness. Everything seemed to be proceeding according to plan when disaster struck in a way no one had anticipated. At 0547 hours, an enemy patrol that hadn't appeared on any intelligence reports stumbled across one of the assault teams moving into position. Gunfire erupted in the valley below, immediately alerting the entire compound to the presence of American forces. The carefully planned surprise attack had become a desperate firefight, with enemy forces taking defensive positions and threatening to execute hostages if the assault continued. Sarah's team leader, Lieutenant Commander Jackson, quickly assessed the situation and requested permission to engage targets of opportunity to support the compromised assault teams. Sarah identified several enemy positions that posed immediate threats to her fellow operators and prepared to engage. She lined up her first shot on a machine gun position that was raking one of the assault teams with devastating fire. As Sarah squeezed the trigger, she felt something she had never experienced before, a slight resistance in the trigger mechanism, followed by an unusual recoil pattern. The shot went wide, missing the target by several feet. Sarah immediately checked her rifle and discovered the problem. The weapon's action had been damaged, likely by a piece of debris during their insertion or movement to the position. The bolt wasn't cycling properly, and the trigger mechanism was compromised. In most situations, a sniper with a damaged primary weapon would switch to a backup system or request extraction. But the desperate situation unfolding below didn't allow for standard procedures. American operators were pinned down, hostages were in immediate danger, and Sarah was the only team member in position to provide the precision fire support that could turn the tide of the battle. Sarah quickly examined her options. Her backup weapon was an M4 carbine, effective for close-range combat, but unsuitable for the precision shooting required at 800 meters. Switching positions would take precious time that the assault teams didn't have. She had to find a way to make her damaged rifle work, despite the mechanical problems that made normal operation impossible. Drawing on her extensive training and intimate knowledge of the M24 system, Sarah began to manually cycle the bolt after each shot, compensating for the damaged trigger mechanism by adjusting her grip and finger placement. The process was slow and awkward, requiring her to break her shooting position after each round to work the action manually. More challenging was compensating for the altered recoil pattern and inconsistent trigger pull weight caused by the damage. Her first shot with the jury-rig technique missed its intended target, but came close enough to force an enemy gunner to take cover. Sarah quickly adjusted her technique, using reference points on the rifle to compensate for the damaged scope mount, and developing an instinctive feel for the altered trigger characteristics. Her second shot found its mark, eliminating a sniper who had been targeting the assault team leader. The success of that shot gave Sarah confidence in her improvised technique, but the situation below was deteriorating rapidly. Enemy reinforcements were arriving from neighboring camps, threatening to overwhelm the American forces. Radio communications indicated that several operators had been wounded and ammunition was running low. The mission commander was considering calling for extraction when Sarah's voice came across the radio with 4 words that would become legendary within the special operations community. "Let me handle this." Over the next 47 minutes, Sarah engaged target after target with her damaged rifle, manually cycling each round and compensating for the weapon's inconsistencies through pure skill and determination. She eliminated enemy fighters manning machine gun positions, snipers in elevated positions, and leaders attempting to coordinate defensive efforts. Each shot required her to quickly assess wind conditions, estimate range, account for the rifle's mechanical problems, and execute under intense pressure. The enemy forces, confused and demoralized by the accurate fire that seemed to come from nowhere, began to abandon their positions. Some fled toward predetermined escape routes, where other American teams were waiting. Others attempted to use hostages as human shields, moving them between buildings in hopes of deterring the mysterious sniper who seemed capable of hitting any target regardless of distance or cover. Sarah's most challenging shots came when enemy fighters attempted to execute hostages in full view of her position, apparently believing that the threat would cause American forces to cease fire. Instead, Sarah used her skills to thread bullets between captors and victims, sometimes with clearances measured in inches. Her intimate knowledge of human anatomy, combined with her precision shooting abilities, allowed her to incapacitate threats without endangering the innocent people being used as shields. As the battle continued, Sarah's damaged rifle began to show increasing signs of stress. The manually cycled bolt was wearing on damaged components, and the improvised shooting technique was taking a physical toll on Sarah herself. Her hands were cut and bruised from manipulating the damaged mechanism, and the strain of maintaining precision while constantly adjusting for mechanical inconsistencies was exhausting. Despite these challenges, Sarah continued to provide decisive fire support. She engaged vehicles attempting to flee with high-value targets, disabled communications equipment that enemy forces were using to coordinate reinforcements, and eliminated threats as they appeared. Her shooting log, reconstructed later from radio communications and battlefield evidence, would show successful engagements at ranges from 400 to 1,200 meters, under varying conditions, and against targets both stationary and moving. The turning point came when Sarah identified the enemy commander attempting to coordinate a final defensive stand from a fortified position near the hostage-holding area. The shot required threading a bullet through a narrow opening in the fortifications at a range of nearly 900 meters, with hostages positioned dangerously close to the target. Sarah took nearly 3 minutes to line up the shot, accounting for wind conditions, the rifle's damage characteristics, and the need for absolute precision to avoid civilian casualties. When she finally squeezed the damaged trigger, the bullet found its mark with surgical precision. The enemy commander's elimination effectively ended organized resistance, allowing the assault teams to advance and secure the compound. Within minutes, American forces had control of the facility and were beginning the process of freeing hostages and treating wounded personnel. #The legend is born. The aftermath of the compound assault revealed the true scope of Sarah's remarkable shooting performance. As intelligence personnel and weapons specialists examined the battlefield, they began to piece together a story that would become the stuff of military legend. 34 separate enemy positions showed evidence of precision rifle fire, with each shot demonstrating the kind of accuracy that military experts had previously thought impossible under such adverse conditions. The weapons analysis team that examined Sarah's damaged M24 rifle was astounded that the weapon had functioned at all, much less with the precision she had demonstrated. The bolt mechanism was severely damaged, with metal shavings indicating that components had been grinding against each other with each manual cycling. The trigger mechanism had lost its factory specifications entirely, requiring significantly more pressure and showing inconsistent breakpoints. Most troubling was damage to the scope mounting system that should have made accurate shooting impossible. Master Chief Rodriguez, Sarah's former mentor, was called in to examine the rifle and provide expert analysis. After spending 2 hours with the weapon, he declared that achieving even basic accuracy with such damage would require superhuman skill and an almost mystical understanding of ballistics. When he learned that Sarah had achieved 30 consecutive hits with targets ranging from 400 to 1,200 meters, he initially refused to believe the reports until battlefield evidence and multiple witness testimonies confirmed the impossible feat. The hostage rescue operation had freed 63 civilians, including 12 children and several elderly villagers who had been held captive for months. Many of these individuals owed their lives directly to Sarah's precision shooting, particularly her ability to eliminate captors while they were using hostages as human shields. Medical personnel treating the rescued civilians found no evidence of injuries caused by friendly fire, despite the complex shooting scenarios that had required split-second timing and surgical precision. Sarah's teammates, who had witnessed her performance firsthand, struggled to find words to describe what they had seen. Lieutenant Commander Jackson, a veteran of 17 years and multiple combat deployments, later wrote in his after-action report that Sarah's shooting had redefined what I believe possible in terms of marksmanship under combat conditions. Sergeant Martinez, the team's communications specialist, noted that Sarah's comm radio communications throughout the engagement had provided steady reassurance to ground forces who were depending on her overwatch. The operation's success had strategic implications beyond the immediate tactical victory. Intelligence gathered from the compound revealed plans for coordinated attacks on civilian targets throughout the region, operations that would have resulted in hundreds of casualties. The elimination of key leaders and the capture of operational documents effectively dismantled a terrorist network that had been growing in strength and sophistication. Sarah's shooting had been the decisive factor that prevented a humanitarian catastrophe. Word of Sarah's achievement spread quickly through the special operations community. Officers who had served in elite units for decades began reaching out to request her transfer to their organizations. Training commands wanted her to develop new marksmanship curricula. Weapons manufacturers sought her input on rifle and optics design. Sarah found herself at the center of attention she had never sought and wasn't entirely comfortable with. The formal recognition came 3 months later during a ceremony at the Pentagon. Sarah received the Navy Cross for extraordinary heroism, with the citation specifically noting her exceptional marksmanship under the most adverse conditions, directly saving the lives of captured civilians and fellow service members. The award came with a promotion to lieutenant commander and assignment as the lead instructor at the Navy's Advanced Marksmanship Training Program. But Sarah's most meaningful recognition came from an unexpected source. The grandfather who had first taught her to shoot, now in his 80s and fighting cancer, made the trip from Colorado to attend the ceremony. As Sarah received her medal, she could see him in the audience, tears streaming down his weathered face. After the ceremony, he approached her with a small wooden box containing the rifle scope from his service in Vietnam. "I carried this through 2 tours," he told her quietly. "It helped me protect my brothers when they needed it most. Now I want you to have it, because you understand what it really means to be a protector." Sarah accepted the gift with hands that trembled slightly, understanding the profound trust and honor her grandfather was showing her. The media attention that followed Sarah's story was intense, but carefully managed by military public affairs specialists. Her achievement provided a powerful example of female capability in combat roles, inspiring young women across the country to consider military service. Recruitment offices reported significant increases in female applicants expressing interest in special operations careers. Sarah participated in selected interviews and public appearances, always emphasizing the teamwork and training that had made her success possible. Behind the scenes, Sarah was already working on her next challenge. The Advanced Marksmanship Training Program needed complete restructuring to incorporate lessons learned from recent combat operations. Sarah threw herself into developing new curricula that emphasized adaptability and problem-solving under adverse conditions. She created training scenarios where students had to achieve precision with damaged or suboptimal equipment, forcing them to develop the kind of intuitive understanding that had saved her during the compound assault. Sarah's training methods quickly gained recognition for producing marksmen who could perform effectively under any conditions. Students learn not just to shoot accurately, but to adapt their techniques to equipment failures, environmental challenges, and high-stress situations. The program's graduation rates improved significantly, and feedback from operational units indicated that graduates were performing better in real-world situations than previous classes. One of Sarah's most innovative contributions was the development of mental training techniques that helped snipers maintain focus and accuracy under extreme stress. Drawing on her own experience during the compound assault, she created visualization exercises and breathing techniques that allowed shooters to achieve what she called combat calm, the mental state where conscious thought gives way to trained instinct and muscle memory. The techniques Sarah developed were eventually adopted by other military services and law enforcement agencies. Police SWAT teams, FBI tactical units, and international military organizations began requesting training from Sarah's program. Her methods were particularly valuable for hostage rescue operations where precision shooting was required in high-stakes situations with minimal margin for error. As Sarah's reputation grew within the professional community, she remained grounded by her commitment to her students and her team. She continued to deploy operationally, participating in missions where her unique skills were needed. Each operation provided new insights that she incorporated into her training programs, ensuring that her students learned from the most current battlefield experiences. The damaged rifle that had made Sarah famous was eventually retired to a place of honor at the Navy SEAL Museum. Displayed alongside it is a detailed analysis of the mechanical problems Sarah overcame and the shooting data from that remarkable day. Visitors to the museum often spend long minutes studying the exhibit, trying to understand how one person's skill and determination could overcome such overwhelming odds. Sarah's legacy extends far beyond her individual achievement. The training methods she developed have influenced an entire generation of military marksmen. Her emphasis on adaptability and mental toughness has become standard doctrine in special operations training. Most importantly, her example has opened doors for other women seeking to serve in elite military units, proving that excellence in combat has no gender boundaries. Today, Sarah continues to serve as both an instructor and operational team member. She has deployed to conflicts around the world, always carrying with her the lessons learned during those crucial minutes when everything went wrong, and she found a way to make it right. Her grandfather's scope remains mounted on her current rifle, a reminder of the tradition of service and protection that she now carries forward. The story of Sarah's 30 consecutive hits with a damaged rifle has become more than a tale of individual heroism. It represents the pinnacle of human performance under pressure, the result of preparation meeting opportunity in the most demanding circumstances possible. For aspiring snipers and military professionals, Sarah's achievement stands as proof that with proper training, mental discipline, and unwavering determination, even the impossible can become possible. In quiet moments between training sessions and deployments, Sarah sometimes reflects on that desperate morning when she announced, "Let me handle this," to her team. She thinks about the hostages whose lives hung in the balance, the teammates who depended on her skills, and the split-second decisions that determined the outcome. Most of all, she thinks about the responsibility that comes with exceptional ability and the duty to use those gifts in service of something greater than oneself. The rifle may have been damaged, but the warrior behind it was not. In the end, that made all the difference.